Black CEO told to step back to economy. She ends the flight with one quiet command. Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. Ma'am, economy is back there. The words cracked through the terminal like a slap wrapped in courtesy. People turned. Bags froze midair. Phones stopped scrolling. The woman at the center didn't move. Her gold suit shimmered beneath the skylight. Not loud, not glittery, but commanding. Every seam spoke discipline. Every glance toward her asked the same question: who does she think she is? The flight attendant, pale and firm, tightened her grip on the boarding pass. You must have mistaken your ticket, ma'am. This line is for first-class passengers. She tore the paper slightly, a gesture small enough to be deniable, sharp enough to humiliate. Danielle Morris lifted her eyes. Calm, calculated. Scan it again. Her voice didn't rise, but something in it shifted the air like a low frequency people could feel more than hear. The man behind her muttered, "She's holding up the line." A woman whispered, "Gold suit, probably influencer." The attendant pressed her lips. "Please step aside. You're delaying verified guests." Danielle's gaze stayed still. The polished floor reflected her heels like mirrors, steady, unmoved. She'd heard this tone before, at 23 inches a hotel lobby, at 31 inches a boardroom, and now here again. Same tone, same judgment, different stage. A young traveler 2 lanes over lifted her phone, recording quietly. "They're really doing this," she murmured. Someone else nodded. A slow ripple of awareness spread through the boarding gate. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Danielle. The attendant extended her arm toward the economy line, rehearsed smile barely hiding disdain. "Ma'am, you need to move now." Danielle didn't. She simply raised an eyebrow, one elegant curve that said everything words couldn't. "You have no idea who you're speaking to." And in that moment, the terminal wasn't just a gate, it was a stage. And everyone watching was about to learn what power looks like when it doesn't need to shout. The boarding gate had turned into a silent audience. Some passengers looked away, pretending not to notice. Others watched like they were waiting for a verdict. The attendant still held the torn edge of the ticket, her hand trembling just enough to betray the confidence she was trying to keep. Danielle's voice came again, lower this time but firmer. "I said scan it again." The scanner beeped red, then again, red. The attendant's jaw tightened. "System must be down," she muttered. Danielle tilted her head. "Or maybe your perception is." Gasps flickered through the small crowd. A man 2 seats down chuckled quietly, that kind of nervous laugh people make when they realize someone just crossed a line and might regret it. The attendant's partner, a younger woman, stepped forward, trying to take control. "Ma'am, please cooperate. You're holding priority boarding." "I am priority boarding," Danielle replied. It wasn't loud, but it was final, the kind of line that didn't need to be argued, only absorbed. At the far side of the queue, a teenage girl whispered to her phone camera. She didn't even raise her voice, and it still hit like thunder. Her livestream counter jumped by the second. A man in a leather jacket, the same one who'd mumbled before, folded his arms. "This is ridiculous. If she doesn't belong here, just remove her." The flight attendant nodded, as if grateful for backup. She reached for the intercom on her sleeve. "Supervisor to gate B12, possible fare discrepancy." Danu's lips barely moved. "Possible." The attendant blinked. "Excuse me, you said possible? So you're not sure." "Good. Leave it at that." The gold fabric of her suit caught the fluorescent light, soft but deliberate, like it was designed to reflect control. She stood perfectly still while everyone else seemed to shrink around her. A voice came from the back, quiet, unsure, but clear. "I saw her pass scan green. Twice." It was a junior staffer, maybe 23, clutching a tablet. The crowd turned. The lead attendant snapped, "Stay out of this, Carla." Carla hesitated, then stepped closer anyway. "No, ma'am." "She's right." It was valid. That one sentence broke the rhythm. The hallway filled with the hum of shifting loyalty, people choosing what kind of silence they wanted to stand in. Danielle didn't smile, but her eyes softened for a second. She had seen this before, one voice shaking the system more than any order ever could. The supervisor's footsteps echoed closer. The tension followed tight and heavy. Danielle adjusted her bag strap and whispered to herself almost prayer-like, "Let them reveal themselves." The terminal lights glinted across her wristwatch, catching gold on gold, time, power, and patience all aligned. And as the supervisor approached, she stood taller, calm as sunrise. Because storms weren't something she feared, they were something she'd learned to control. The crowd parted like water. A man in a navy vest and polished shoes marched toward the gate. Mr. Halpern, the flight supervisor. Clipboard in hand, confidence in every stride. The kind of corporate calm that always came with assumption. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked, voice clipped, already annoyed. The lead attendant straightened her posture. "Possible ticket fraud, sir." The barcode failed twice. Halpern barely glanced at Danielle before nodding. "Then reassign the seat and let's move on." No one breathed. Danielle's tone stayed even. "You're reassigning my seat based on a malfunction you didn't even check." Halpern frowned. "Ma'am, this is a business class line. You'll need to step back." "Step back," she repeated slowly, eyes locked on him. The air shifted. People felt it. "That phrase always shows up before an apology," she said. Carla, the junior staffer who had spoken earlier, tried again, quieter but steady. "Sir, I verified her ticket myself. It scanned green both times." Halpern's tone turned sharp. "Then you made an error." "No, sir," she said, firmer now. "The system recognized her name, Danielle Morris." That name dropped like glass on marble. A pause. A look. The phone lenses tilted upward. Halpern blinked. What name did you say, Danielle?" "Morris." Whispers rippled through the line. One passenger mouthed the words silently. The CEO Halpern's expression faltered, but habit fought back. Anyone can claim that. Danielle opened her clutch and pulled out her sleek black ID, matte minimalist embossed with the Etherair insignia. "This card doesn't need to claim anything." He took one step back, eyes darting from the emblem to her face. "Why didn't you? Why come here like this?" "To see how respect travels," she said. Her voice stayed gentle, but every syllable carried weight. "So far, it's not making it past the gate." Phones lifted higher now. The crowd no longer pretended not to look. Someone whispered, "She owns the airline," and the sound spread like static. Halpern swallowed hard. "Miss Morris, we didn't won?" "You did," she interrupted softly. "All of you did. You just didn't expect anyone to notice." The lead attendant's face drained of color. Carla stepped back, clutching the tablet to her chest as if proof needed to breathe. A woman at the window clapped once, then stopped, unsure if she was allowed. Danielle glanced toward her and offered the faintest nod. That was enough. Another clap. Then another. The sound built hesitant but real. Halpern's radio crackled. He fumbled with it, voice low. "Cancel call. Situation resolved." But it wasn't resolved. Not yet. Because justice didn't end when the room fell silent, it began there. Danielle looked around the gate one last time and said, "Let's finish this properly." And in that instant, everyone knew the flight wouldn't take off, not until dignity did. The applause died as quickly as it began. You could hear the hum of the terminal lights again, a reminder that this wasn't a courtroom, not yet. But it felt like one. Danielle stood at the center gold suit, glowing faintly under the gate's sterile light. Her stillness carried more authority than any uniform in the room. Halpern shifted his stance, trying to recover. "Miss Morris, I think we can clear this up privately." Danielle didn't move. "Privately," she repeated. "The humiliation was public. Let's stay consistent." The lead attendant's voice cracked. "We were only following policy," Danielle cut in. "Good. Then you'll appreciate this next part." She lifted her phone and tapped once. A soft chime sounded calm, precise. Across the counter, Carla's tablet pinged simultaneously. She looked down and read aloud before realizing what it was. Etherair internal log. Flight 827 staff interaction flagged for live audit. The words hung there like thunder before lightning. Halpern blinked. You're activating a review now." Danielle nodded. "You said protocol. I'm simply using mine." Every camera phone in the terminal tilted closer. Passengers who'd been pretending to scroll now leaned in fully. The woman in the window seat whispered, "She's documenting it live." "God, this is brilliant." Halpern tried to reclaim his tone of authority. "Ma'am, this isn't necessary. It always becomes necessary," she said, "when people mistake appearance for permission." Her calmness made his voice shrink. The attendants looked trapped in place, unsure whether to speak or disappear. Carla was the only one still breathing normally. She turned toward Danielle and said softly, The audit system just requested your confirmation code. Approve it, Danielle replied. The screen flashed verified. The hum of nearby gates seemed to fade like sound itself was listening. Danielle exhaled once, not relief, not victory, just control. She remembered another airport, another lifetime 20 years old flying standby after her scholarship interview. A gate agent had looked at her sneakers, at her skin, and said, "You don't fit the dress code for this lounge." She'd smiled then, too. The same smile she wore now, the kind that promised time would correct the insult. Back in the present, Halpern's earpiece buzzed. He turned slightly, listening. "Yes, this is Gate B12, he said, voice tight. "Yes, the situation involves corporate oversight." His shoulders slumped as whoever was on the other end kept talking. Danielle watched quietly. She already knew who they'd looped in. When he finally met her eyes again, his authority was gone. "Headquarters is asking if you'd like to postpone boarding," he said. Danielle's lips curved faintly. "No," she answered. "Cancel it." Gasps rippled through the passengers. "She's canceling the flight," someone whispered. Danielle turned toward the gate window where the aircraft gleamed under morning light. "A plane can't take off carrying this kind of weight," she said softly. Her words weren't anger. They were balance. And as Halpern lowered his headset in defeat, the truth settled over everyone there. It wasn't turbulence that grounded Flight 827. It was accountability. The announcement hit like a shockwave. "Attention passengers on Flight 827, this flight has been temporarily suspended." Every head turned toward the gate. Conversations froze mid-sentence. Someone dropped a coffee cup. It rolled in a lazy circle before the silence swallowed it. Danielle stood perfectly still. Her reflection in the window faced the aircraft outside, a silver body waiting for takeoff, unaware that one quiet woman had just halted its motion. Inside her calm, the storm was precise. Halpern's headset crackled again. "Sir, corporate just confirmed flight control placed a hold on 827 pending executive authorization." His throat tightened. Executive. The word had shifted sides. He looked at Danielle. "Miss Morris, the passengers will be compensated," she said evenly. "Every one of them. My responsibility now. Yours, yes. Since this is my aircraft under my contract, phones were everywhere now." The line of travelers had turned into a half-circle of witnesses. No one dared interrupt. The gold fabric of her suit caught the sunlight streaming through the glass. Not like luxury, but like proof. Carla's voice came small but clear. Audit report already sinking to HQ. Halpern turned toward her, panic surfacing. "You can't." "She can," Danielle interrupted. "She's the only one here doing her job." Carla blinked. "Ma'am, you followed protocol, you told the truth, and you stood your ground. That's what integrity looks like," the crowd murmured. One man whispered, "She's schooling them right here in the airport." The lead attendant tried one last time, desperation coating her voice. It was never personal. Danielle met her eyes. "It never is until someone holds you accountable." For a heartbeat, no one spoke. The gold watch on her wrist ticked audibly each second, marking the distance between arrogance and consequence. A mother with her teenage son approached slowly. "Excuse me," she said. "I just wanted my boy to see this, to see what dignity looks like." Danielle smiled softly. "Teach him that calm is not weakness." Behind her, the Aether Air logo shimmered on a nearby monitor. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Their own branding now illuminated the face of the woman they had tried to dismiss. Halpern's radio beeped once more. "Corporate wants your statement, sir," a voice said. He hesitated, then handed the device to Danielle. "You should probably take this." "No," she said. "You'll report what happened, word for word." She adjusted her sleeve, the motion smooth, deliberate. "And when you're done," she added, "remind them that respect isn't a seat upgrade. It's policy." The terminal erupted not in noise, but in quiet awe. People didn't clap this time, they just stood. Because for once, power wasn't loud. It was gold, calm, and undeniable. The gate had turned into a mirror, every face reflecting a different kind of realization. The woman in gold wasn't arguing anymore. She didn't need to. Authority had already changed sides. Halpern's voice trembled through the radio. "This is Gate B12, confirming Flight 827 cancellation by executive directive. Yes, Miss Danielle Morris herself." Even saying her name out loud seemed to drain him of rank. The lead attendant lowered her gaze, the arrogance washed away, replaced by the slow, cold shape of regret. "I didn't know," she whispered. Danielle answered without anger. "That's the problem. You didn't ask." A ripple of quiet agreement moved through the passengers. No shouting, no cheers, just the collective recognition of truth. A reporter who happened to be on the flight lifted his phone. "Ma'am, could I ask?" "You already are," Danielle replied, eyes steady. "So write this clearly. I didn't cancel a flight. I stopped a cycle." He froze thumbs, hovering unsure if he should even record more. Every sentence she spoke landed like a verdict written in calm air. Carla stepped closer, cautious but resolute. "Corporate confirmed audit live," she said. "They're watching this feed right now." Danielle turned toward her. "Then let them see what leadership looks like when silence breaks." Through the glass, the airplane door opened again. Two ground engineers stood by looking up at the gate window, confused but curious. The word was already spreading through radio chatter. CEO on-site halted flight personally. Danielle's assistant's voice buzzed in her earpiece, a faint tone only she could hear. "Danielle, press is requesting statement." "Want me to prep PR response?" "No press," she murmured. "Let the moment speak for itself." She looked back at Halpern. "I won't fire you today," she said. "Not yet." His eyes flicked up, half grateful, half terrified. "But the audit will decide if you ever board another plane wearing that badge." He nodded silently, hands clasped like a student awaiting judgment. Behind them, the crowd began to disperse, slowly, reluctantly, but no one looked at her with pity anymore, only respect. A teenage girl with curly hair walked past and whispered, "You just made history, ma'am." Danielle smiled faintly. "No, just policy." She picked up her briefcase, the gold fabric of her sleeve catching the sunlight one last time. As she turned toward the exit, the PA system crackled again, this time with a different tone. Respectful, deliberate aether air. "Thanks our passengers for their patience and understanding." For once, the announcement didn't sound automated. It sounded human. And as Danielle walked away, the camera phones that had tried to capture her downfall now filmed her composure instead. Because what they'd witnessed wasn't drama. It was discipline wrapped in gold, and proof that sometimes the quietest command can ground an entire system. The sound of her heels echoed down the concourse like a metronome of consequence, sharp, even unstoppable. Behind her, the gate crew stood frozen, still processing what had just happened. The aircraft remained tethered to the jet bridge, its engines silent, like it knew it had no permission to move. Danielle didn't look back. She never needed to watch a storm she already commanded. Carla hurried to catch up. "Miss Morris," the system pinged again. Headquarters opened a live audit thread. "They're requesting full incident playback." "Good," Danielle said, not slowing her stride. "Transparency's overdue." They passed a row of screens streaming real-time updates. On one of them, her own name appeared. "Aether internal incident. Gate B12. Executive presence confirmed." Passengers nearby glanced at the display, realizing who had just walked past them. A man whispered to his wife, "That's her, the one who stopped the flight." The woman whispered back, "No, the one who owns it." Carla hesitated. "Ma'am, may I ask why you didn't just reveal your identity at the start?" Danielle's gaze stayed forward. "Because titles shouldn't be the price of respect." They reached the VIP corridor, glass walls, quiet, sterile light. Danielle paused at the door, turned slightly toward the boarding gate in the distance. Through the glass, she could still see Halpern standing by the counter, pale phone pressed to his ear. The lead attendant wiped at her eyes discreetly, the kind of tears that come not from shame alone but from recognition. Danielle spoke softly, almost to herself. "People remember punishment, but they change after reflection." Carla nodded, absorbing every word. Her earpiece buzzed again. The assistant's voice returned. "HQ confirms media's already caught wind. They're framing it as Black CEO grounds flight over bias incident." "Want a comment?" "Not yet," Danielle replied. "Let the footage speak. Emotion distorts, evidence teaches." She entered the glass meeting lounge, the quietest part of the terminal overlooking the grounded plane. Her reflection merged with its metallic body, gold against silver. Two emblems of control. From her phone, a live feed displayed the gate camera footage. She watched herself, calm, contained, deliberate, surrounded by panic and noise. "See?" she murmured. "No theatrics. Just balance." Carla's tablet chimed again. "Corporate compliance team logged in," she said. "They're requesting your statement for record." Danielle looked out toward the plane, then down at the mic. "Record this," she said. "Bias is turbulence. You can ignore it, but it still shakes everything." Her voice was low, steady, unflinching, and as her words transmitted through the company's internal network from terminals to boardrooms, every employee hearing them knew the audit wasn't just about one flight. It was about every unseen moment where silence had gone unrecorded until now. The meeting lounge was glass on every side, a floating cube of quiet above the chaos she had just halted. The city shimmered beyond the runway. Planes moved in silence like distant thoughts. Danielle set her phone on the table. The live feed stabilized gate B12 paused mid-reality. The image showed passengers waiting the torn boarding pass on the floor, the gold reflection of her suit still glinting in someone's camera lens. Her assistant's voice came through the earpiece again. Danielle, the board is joining in. All department heads are online. Patch them through. The screen divided into tiles. 12 faces the board of ether air. Some looked nervous, others merely curious. "Miss Morris," said Chairman Redfield, clearing his throat, "we just received notice you grounded an entire flight without prior authorization." Danielle leaned back, folding her hands. "No," she said evenly. "I grounded a mindset that was costing this company more than fuel." A murmur moved through the call. Someone coughed. Redfield frowned. "That incident, was it personal?" "It was systemic," she answered. "Personal bias executed under policy. That makes it corporate." Carla sat quietly beside her, watching every exchange as if witnessing history. Redfield tapped his pen. "And you believe this justifies public disruption?" Danielle's gaze didn't waver. "Public behavior created it. Public correction ends it." For a moment, even the air conditioning seemed to hesitate. The HR director spoke softly. "The staff involved, what do you want done? Audit results will decide, but I expect training, not scapegoats." "Fear won't fix culture," one of the older board members muttered. "You could have handled it quietly." Danielle's tone sharpened by a degree, not loud but unmistakable. "Quietly is how prejudice survives." No one replied. The silence on the call wasn't awkward, it was heavy, instructive. She reached into her briefcase and pulled out a single document, a reform proposal she'd drafted months ago. She slid it across the glass table toward Carla. "Send this immediately. Bias response and conduct reform. Effective today." Carla nodded, already uploading. Danielle turned back to the board. "I don't need another press statement about inclusion," she said. "I need a system that doesn't depend on who's watching." Redfield finally exhaled, rubbing his temple. "Understood," he said quietly. "We'll authorize the rollout." "And Danielle." He hesitated. "Well done." She didn't smile. "Just close the file." "It's not well done yet. It's only recorded." Outside the window, sunlight struck the aircraft she had grounded, its silver surface glowing like acknowledgement. Inside, the boardroom feed ended, and the reflection of 12 dark screens surrounded her. Danielle stood smoothing the sleeve of her gold suit. "Reopen the gate when respect's ready to fly again," she said. Carla looked up, eyes wide. "Yes, ma'am." And as they left the glass room, every echo of her footsteps carried a message the entire company would soon understand, that justice didn't just happen in courts or contracts. It could happen midair in real time if someone brave enough decided to land it. By the time Danielle and Carla stepped back into the terminal, the atmosphere had shifted completely. What had been tension now felt like reverence. The passengers who'd witnessed everything hadn't scattered. They waited quietly, as if sensing this story wasn't done yet. Phones were still up, but not out of curiosity anymore, out of respect. They weren't recording her downfall. They were documenting her poise. A little girl tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mom," she whispered, "is that the lady from the plane?" Her mother nodded. "That's the reason the plane stopped, and the reason it'll fly right next time." Danielle walked past them with the calm of someone who no longer needed to prove anything. Her every step felt measured like a punctuation mark after chaos. Carla kept beside her, still processing the speed of what had unfolded. "Ma'am," she said, "social media's flooded. People are calling this the flight that didn't deserve to take off." Danielle allowed herself the faintest smile. "Let them call it what they want. I just call it Tuesday." Laughter, quiet, surprised, rose from a few passengers who overheard her. It wasn't mockery, it was admiration wrapped in disbelief. Near gate B12, the lead attendant stood alone, eyes red, shoulders heavy. When she saw Danielle approach, she braced as if awaiting a sentence. But Danielle didn't shout. She stopped a polite distance away. "You made a mistake," Danielle said. "But so did I once years ago. I thought silence would protect me. It didn't." The attendant's voice cracked. "I didn't mean—" "I know," Danielle cut in gently. "That's why we'll train you, not replace you." She paused, lowering her voice. "You don't fix bias by burning people. You fix it by enlightening them." The woman's tears came faster. "Thank you, Ms. Morris." Don't thank me. Thank the girl who spoke up before you did. She looked toward Carla, whose hands tightened on the tablet, startled to be noticed. A man nearby, the one who'd mocked her earlier, stepped forward. Miss Morris, I owe you an apology. Danielle turned slightly. You don't owe me, she said. You owe yourself. Next time be the one who interrupts the silence. He nodded, eyes low. Outside, the window ground crew moved around the parked plane. The sun caught the fuselage again, same light as before, but the feeling had changed. What once felt like a scene of humiliation now looked like rebirth. Carla whispered, Should I reopen the gate? Danielle looked out at the runway, her reflection overlapping the aircraft. Not yet, she said. Let the world absorb the lesson first. Passengers began to clap softly, not for the drama, but for the discipline. Someone said she didn't raise her voice once. Another replied, That's why everyone heard her. Danielle took one last look at the quiet plane, then at the people she'd just taught by example. And in that stillness, the most powerful thing in the airport wasn't an engine or a title, it was respect finally airborne. The airport had returned to motion, but something in the air was different. Quieter, clearer, like the space itself had learned a new rhythm. Gate B12 was no longer a boarding zone. It had become a story, and stories travel faster than planes. Passengers whispered as Danielle walked toward the central concourse. That's her. The CEO who stopped a flight. She didn't even raise her voice. Every word followed her like a wind current, but Danielle's focus stayed forward. She didn't bask in attention. She redirected it. Carla's tablet chimed again. Miss Morris, the internal feed just hit 500,000 views. Employees are messaging support lines. Some say they've experienced the same thing. Then we're doing something right, Danielle replied. Change never starts quietly. It only grows that way. They passed a cafe near the security checkpoint. On the screen behind the counter, a news ticker already ran, Black CO halts flight in silent protest against bias. A headline born from dignity, not scandal. The barista turned, recognizing her hands stilling mid-motion. Miss Morris, thank you, he said quietly. She offered a nod. Don't thank me, just pass it on. Carla exhaled. You realize this will redefine corporate conduct across the network. It won't, Danielle said calmly. People will forget. Systems always do. That's why we build better ones. Her words felt like architecture, solid, deliberate. They reached the executive shuttle area. Security personnel straightened instinctively, ready to escort her, but Danielle waved them off. I'll walk, she said. Today needs witnesses, not guards. As she moved through the terminal, snippets of human reaction followed her like echoes. She made them stop the flight. No yelling, no chaos. Maybe power really sounds like that. Near a tall window overlooking the runway, a janitor, older, quiet, with silver in his hair, paused his mop and said softly, Took 30 years to see someone fix what we all just accept. Danielle stopped, met his eyes, and smiled faintly. Then today was worth the delay. He nodded once, eyes glistening. You just gave a lot of people permission to be seen. The PA system chimed overhead. Attention, all passengers, Gate B12 flight will remain grounded until further notice. Thank you for your patience. For the first time, that phrase didn't sound like inconvenience. It sounded like evolution. Carla looked at Danielle. Ma'am, HQ confirmed they'll release your audit statement publicly. Do you want to review it before it goes live? No, Danielle said. If the truth needs editing, it's not truth. Outside, the plane remained still under the noon light. No engines, no boarding, no noise, just reflection. Danielle turned to Carla and said quietly, They'll talk about this for a day. But if even one person changes how they see a stranger, the silence was worth it. Carla smiled. You think they'll remember? Danielle looked back at the golden glint in the window, her own reflection dissolving into the sky. They won't forget, she said, because silence leaves the loudest echo. Hours later, the terminal had thinned. Flights came and went, but Gate B12 remained sealed, roped off, guarded by memory instead of staff. The torn boarding pass was gone, swept up by janitors, but people still paused to take photos of the empty gate, as if it were a monument. Danielle sat in a quiet lounge overlooking the runway. The sunset poured through glass walls, staining her gold suit in amber light. The glow made her seem almost unreal, like the day itself was bowing out in her color. Carla returned from the front desk, tablet in hand. Ma'am, corporate issued a statement. Ether Air is reviewing the incident to strengthen inclusivity and accountability. It's trending across every major outlet. Good, Danielle said softly. But statements don't heal people. Policies do. She reached for her coffee, untouched now cold, and set it aside. What about the crew? Carla hesitated. Halpern and the attendants have been suspended pending the audit. HR requested your final recommendation. Danielle nodded slowly. Send them training, not termination. Let their next flight be redemption. Carla blinked. You're giving them another chance. I'm giving them perspective, Danielle corrected. Firing them only silences guilt. I'd rather amplify understanding. Outside, the grounded plane was finally being towed away, its reflection sliding across the tarmac like a quiet ending. Passengers filmed from afar, their comments echoing through social media feeds. She didn't cancel the flight, she reset it. Danielle's phone buzzed. A message from the chairman. Media's calling you a symbol. She sighed. Symbols fade. Systems last. Carla smiled faintly. You sound like your father. He used to say justice isn't about noise, it's about correction, Danielle replied. Now people just have to see what that looks like. Her gaze drifted toward the window where the runway lights blinked in sequence like an unending path. For the first time that day, she let herself breathe. Across the lounge, the same little girl from earlier spotted her again. She approached timidly, her mother behind her. Miss Morris. Danielle turned gentle. Yes, sweetheart. The girl clutched her boarding pass tightly. My mom said you stopped the flight because they were mean. Danielle smiled. I stopped it because everyone deserves to board with dignity. The child thought for a moment. Will they be nice next time? They will, Danielle said, because now they know someone's watching. The girl grinned and hugged her. It lasted only a second, but it anchored the entire day. As they walked away, Carla whispered, That was beautiful. That was necessary, Danielle replied. The terminal loudspeaker announced the next boarding call. Normal life resumed, but nothing truly went back to normal. Because somewhere between silence and consequence, a woman in gold had rewritten what respect looks like in motion. Night had settled over the airport. Runway lights flickered like constellations, and the world outside the glass hummed with departures that finally felt earned. Inside the executive lounge, Danielle gathered her things. The day had moved from confrontation to correction, from noise to stillness. Her gold suit no longer gleamed, it glowed quiet and resolute, like the color had learned calm. Carla stood nearby, still dazed from everything she'd witnessed. Ma'am, she said softly, I've never seen anyone handle power like that. You didn't threaten. You didn't even raise your voice. Danielle smiled faintly. Power isn't volume, Carla. It's direction. She looked out the window toward the distant tarmac. The aircraft she'd grounded earlier had been reassigned to another gate. A new crew boarded it. Diverse alert humbled. It was flying again, not because of repair, but because of reflection. When respect is grounded, Danielle murmured, nothing should take off. Her phone buzzed with messages, executives, journalists, even strangers thanking her for the way she stood her ground. She ignored most of them. What mattered wasn't applause. It was the next policy revision she'd implement by morning. A soft chime from Carla's tablet broke the silence. Audit finalized, she read aloud. Findings confirmed bias incident. Recommendations mandatory empathy training across all Ether Air partners. Approved effective immediately. Danielle nodded. Then the day was worth it. She began to walk toward the exit, her heels slow against the marble floor. Passengers she passed didn't cheer or shout. They simply watched her, some nodding, some standing taller. Reverence, not spectacle. Near the terminal door, the older janitor she'd spoken to earlier lifted his cap. Ma'am, he said, I told my supervisor what you said about respect being policy. He's printing it for the break room. Danielle chuckled softly. That's how revolutions start on bulletin boards. The man smiled, eyes wet. Thank you for not walking past us. She paused. That's the point, isn't it? No one's beneath a voice that listens. Outside, the wind rolled across the tarmac. She stepped through the automatic doors and into the cool night. The city lights glimmered in her reflection across the glass gold, fading into black authority, into humility. Before she entered the waiting car, she turned back once toward the terminal, toward the place where the line between classes, colors, and voices had been redrawn. When respect has a price tag, she whispered, the flight should never take off. Her driver opened the door. The car pulled away slowly, headlights washing over the terminal floor like a closing curtain. And as the scene faded into silence, one truth lingered in every witness's mind. She didn't win by shouting. She didn't conquer by force. She simply reminded the world that justice can wear gold and speak in quiet tones.